Hello and welcome to this fabulous picture show, this special screening of Black Gold, documentary made by these two filmmakers. May I introduce Nick and Mark Francis. Now, for them, it's been a journey of about 3 years, hasn't it? I mean, this wasn't a little homework assignment. It was quite a big task.
We started it in 2003 and we finished it the beginning of 2006. And it's currently screening around the world, and we've had some really interesting responses. So it'll be interesting to see what everyone makes of it here today.
Brilliant. We hope you enjoy the film. See you at a Q&A afterwards.
Keen to tell their story from an Ethiopian point of view, the directors follow coffee trader Tedesi Meskela.
There is no coffee which is as quality as this coffee, but we are getting very low price.
He wants to cut out some of the middlemen in the coffee trade and get a better deal for the 70,000 farmers in the cooperative union he represents. Black Gold contrasts their lives with the global coffee market.
Coffee is the second most actively traded commodity in the world market.
It looks at the new globalized coffee culture.
And it's just amazing just how much, not just how much bigger we're getting, but just the lives that we're touching.
And illustrates the social costs of the low coffee price, falling since the big players ended regulation in the late 80s. But the film also shows the limits of the fair trade movement, which pays these farmers above the world price, but not by much. Black Gold isn't an incendiary piece of anti-corporate propaganda.
Trade is more important to us than aid.
But it's provoked Starbucks to launch a counter-offensive, from staff memos branding the film as inaccurate, to most recently on their website urging customers to feel good about drinking their coffee.
The consumers can bring a change if awareness given to consumers.
The reaction to this film has been more than you perhaps predicted?
The reaction has been quite overwhelming. I mean, it turns out that we've rustled a few feathers, and that had began really in Sundance when Starbucks were turning up to the screenings, sending out press releases and trying to preempt what they considered could be a negative PR impression of what Starbucks is like. Because we did try for 6 months to get Starbucks to be interviewed in the film, but they declined. So we had a friendly meeting with the senior executives of the company in Seattle HQ shortly after. They wanted to tell us what they were doing to make the world a better place.
What questions did you ask Starbucks?
Fundamentally, how much they pay their coffee growers, and is it more than the next company? And that's the question that time and again, not just Starbucks, but Nestle and all the rest of them who we've asked these questions of refuse to answer.
Are not the farmers better off for having Starbucks in the world that's actually creating demand for a product?
Do you work for Starbucks?
No, I don't.
I think your point's absolutely right. At our premiere in London, the Ethiopian ambassador came along and he said, you know, multinational companies are part of the problem, but they also be part of the solution. I don't think they need not exist. I just think it's how they deal with and how they trade with countries like Ethiopia, which at the moment doesn't seem to be as fair as it could be.
What do you think coffee means to the world?
Sex. Coffee has been advertised as that, really, you know, come back to my place for a coffee and we'll have a great time.
You saved my life the other night.
The dinner party?
The coffee. Very successful.
How can you ever thank me?
I'll try and think of something.
And I think it actually means different things to different people. In Ethiopia, as you saw in the film, there, having a cup of coffee is a ceremony. It's not just neck a quick espresso and run off to work. Coffee is in the heart of people's culture, wherever you go.
One of the images I'm carrying is that of the women sifting the coffee beans.
We didn't know that actually happened. Tedesi said, come and check this room out. And as he opened the door, we were just rolling with the camera, and suddenly we saw this sweatshop of 500 women on there for 8 hours a day, on less than $50 a day. I think for us that was the most alarming thing we'd seen during you know, our filming trip.
That music wasn't background music, it was integral, it was, the foreground was there.
You know, most people are going to see the film on a big screen. We wanted them to have an experience when they see the film. We were very concerned that it wasn't going to have a stereotypical African sound, but try and make a film much like the narrative that roots the experience into our consumer lifestyle, and for somehow to try and create a score that reflected that.
For the person who goes to the film and walks out of the film and thinks, what am I going to do about this? How would you like to connect them to the solution?
You know, if awareness is given to consumers, then there's hope for change. So that was our objective, is to tell an entertaining, engaging story that's going to reach a widest audience possible, to switch on about what's going on.
Are you optimistic that things will change?
I don't know whether that's a question for us or whether it's the question of the audience. I mean, sweatshop labour for the cotton industry wasn't exposed until there was a film there that highlighted the issue and made consumers more aware and brought to bear light on the textile industry.
You know, for us, it's just about trying to push out there as much as we can to ensure many people in the world gets to see it.
Just to let you all know that we did invite Starbucks and various other coffee companies to the screening. They politely declined, but I'm sure they'll see the film somewhere.
Most of them have.
Could we please thank Nick and Mark Francis, here from Black Gold. And now to a musical interlude, courtesy of Oscar-nominated film composer Dario Marianelli, who invited us into his studio.
Oh no, it starts just from one note, that's right. This is when the candle gets blown off, and she turns and blows the candle and it goes to dark. The first note starts. And then it opens up on this cliff where she's on the precipice. I had to think of something that could have been played by the actresses, and I had no idea how Keira Knightley or some other of the actors play the piano.
I'm not afflicted with false modesty. When I say I play poorly...
Come, Lizzie. Her ladyship demands it.
And this was a piece that Keira should have been able to play. Keira should have been able to play.
She did, actually. She practiced a lot, and she could play the first page of the piece. Once you've got this, it could become, it could really open up.
Now you're just showing off, aren't you?
You mean to frighten me, Mr. Darcy, by coming in all your state to hear me? But I won't be alarmed, even if your sister does play so well.
I know it's fine for.
12 years ago, this Italian moved to London, believing he'd be a piano tuner. But working with Pride and Prejudice director Joe Wright changed all that, winning the composer an Oscar nomination. So here you are, an Italian composer, being asked to write the score for Victorian period music, wasn't it?
By that time, I'd drunk so much English tea. The little Chianti that was left in my veins had probably evaporated by then.
When you do a film with a director, say somebody like Terry Gilliam, what does he tell you that he wants?
It was quite fortunate that I decided to speak my mind at that first meeting, because he said, I don't think this American big adventure music works, and you need something very quirky and very odd. He let me have a go at what I thought was quirky enough and odd enough to go on the film.
On this one, what kind of instruments did you want?
Some of them were completely made-up instruments made of curtain wires and cardboard boxes, and we made very weird noises.
Take the shot,
With V for Vendetta, it's futuristic. What were your influences there?
I thought I need to find a bunch of chords that I can recognize. And it's something like this. There was a natural progression that the music had to chart, in a sense. It had to follow the build-up in pressure in the story. And that's the sound of freedom.
But it's his Pride and Prejudice compositions that freed Marinelli to work on projects of his own choosing. And he's now composing for the film adaptation of the best-selling novel, Atonement.
That's it for this fabulous picture show.
And make sure you check out blackgoldmovie.com.
If you want to know more about the show, head to our website, which is here. Otherwise, it's time for us to take our makeup off. Both of you.
You know, we're in the people business serving coffee, so it's more about the connections that we have with our people.
How would you rate the film out of 10 and why?
I'd rate the film out of 10, 9 out of 10.
For me, it's a good 10 out of 10.
I would rate it 10 out of 10.
I give it 9 out of 10. I thought it was an incredible, insightful, moving and beautifully shot film.
I thought it was really interesting the way it connected, like, the coffee behind Starbucks with the actual farmers and where it actually comes from.
I really didn't know that the struggling is so deep. It shouldn't be happening. I mean, it was, I have to say, I was almost crying.
You're a coffee buyer. What did you learn today?
I think I will try to buy more ethically.